Hello and welcome to the SUSECON session on innovation in the SAP Space, tutorial 1170. So my name is Christian Holsing. I lead the product management team for the SAP solutions in SUSE, and I'm joined by Diego. Diego, do you just want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Diego Akechi. I'm the director of SAP Solutions at SUSE.
Good. With that, let's go and move into the content. So, we are going to walk you through a set of projects that we've been working on the last few weeks and months, just to really share and talk about all the different areas of innovation that we're working through. So, first of all, let's talk about the monitoring project. So, um, we've been working on this for probably 18 months when the whole project started. It was triggered in collaboration with a cloud service provider where a customer wanted a simple and lean stack. And from a SUSE perspective, we looked into Pacemaker and Prometheus as the foundation for it. And started with the obvious part of getting the note exporter, which is the information on the operating system metrics and close to US metrics, like how much CPU is used, how much memory is used. We extended that with exporters for Pacemaker, so the HA stack, to include that into the whole solution. And we also looked into exporters for SAP HANA and also NetWeaver, so that a customer can get a nice holistic view of the complete stack, actually. And the screenshot that we're seeing here on the screen is one from a customer environment, where the customer is actually relying very heavily on the monitoring project for their production systems, understanding all the different implications within the stack, and really being able to especially aggregate various aspects of their environment, meaning aggregating data from the SAP database itself, going over Pacemaker down to the operating system. And there's been some more innovation. So I've recorded also a session with Intel. We've recently released a white paper of how to integrate also hardware metrics into the stack. So we're going even further here than just the operating system, really down to the hardware, so that from a customer perspective and from an end user perspective, you can really see through the different levels and layers of the infrastructure and find the root cause of problems. You also get the ability to review data dependent on your configuration. The system holds a couple of days, couple of hours, couple of months, dependent on how much data you're willing to store, which means that in case of an outage, you will be able to still aggregate data. And we're also looking at some innovation here to be released relatively quickly to integrate Loki as a additional project in the Prometheus stack, to also be able to aggregate log files into it. So that means that if you see a failover, for example, you will see it in the timeline graph that you decide to render it in. And basically all the aggregated information of the system rebooting, going down, it will all be in one view. And when we later talk about Trento, I'm pretty sure Diego is also pointing out the integration that we're working on for monitoring towards Trento. So that's I think, pretty good starting point here. Obviously, SUSE is very well known for high availability in the SAP space, and we've also done quite a bit of work here. SAP hasn't released really a whole lot of new supported scenarios, but one scenario that we're going to look into in a little more detail is basically the HANA scale-out multi-target definitions. I'm going to cover this on the next slide in more detail. But really, from a HA perspective, we also worked on a simplified mount structure that we expect to be documented in a best practice soon. And there is also a nice little feature in the resource agent now, which is the takeover blocker, which means that if the cluster is taking an action, it blocks the admin and vice versa, so that you get more control of the high availability stack for SAP HANA, and you're not down completely, but the system rather acts like a semaphore and only allows one action at a time. And then there are also ongoing discussions with cloud service providers in terms of having multi-SID support for a NetWeaver cluster. So for larger deployments that you consolidate ASCS and ERS in one cluster under one pacemaker configuration and have multiple application service for different SIDs sitting around it. That's one option that has been documented. It is already out, and we're working right now on validating and testing configurations also for CSPs, where basically the NetWeaver server, the AACS, and the ERS component sits on the same host with a HANA database, and it requires only one pacemaker cluster. So it's a little tricky. So that's why we're working on it and testing it right now, but we expect this to be released as well relatively quickly. So when we now talk about the scale-out multi-target replication that we've been working on, this is something we're in the past, and we also saw a customer here that overlooked the fine print in the documentation a little bit. So the support for pacemaker in a scale-out system was actually limited to 2 nodes. And we got a couple of customer requests where the customers were deploying more than actually 2 nodes of HANA scale-out systems. In the specific case that I was referring to before, we saw 4 nodes. There is a German customer that runs a 3-node setup for a DR side, as you see it on the top right. And basically, from a SAP team perspective in SUSE, we collaborated very closely with both customers and enhanced the resource agent for SAP HANA in a way that for the scale-out deployment of a HANA system, we're now able to tolerate more than 2 nodes. We're still in a setup where pacemaker manages 2 nodes at this point. And the 3rd and the 4th node are just part of the environment. But we'll see where this goes. And there's also work going on behind the scenes to expand that a little bit. So for this solution, we're actually already out of the ramp-up phase. So it's in the resource agent. And it requires the 0.180 resource agent, so pretty new. But as always in SUSE, we're really trying to backport new features as much as technically possible. And for the new resource agent, try to achieve a support for every service pack that is under active support from a SUSE perspective, so that people do not necessarily need to upgrade. So that's our common approach here. So the scale-out resource agent is supported on 12 SP5 and the service packs of 15 that are under active support. And it does require SPS 03 from HANA 2. But I think that's mostly business as usual. So that's, again, for very large deployments and also deployments where customers are looking for a cluster within one site and availability zone and a second setup in a second availability zone. We got you covered here. and that is available now. Good. So talking a little bit about HA scenarios, as I said before, SAP is still innovating here, and we do so from a SUSE side as well, going through various HANA setups for scale up and scale out. So this slide gives you kind of an overview where we are. As I said before, the third site for the scale up under a pacemaker cluster, which gets us from 2 to 3 nodes, that's something that is under active research. Other things are under testing. So we really plan to continue to innovate here. And I also expect that as soon as the third site is stable for scale up, we're also going to be looking at the third site within the cluster also for scale out under certain conditions, just to give you guys kind of a feeling where we're going and what we're looking at as a team. Okay, then the whole aspect of the deployment options for SAP workloads and SLAS for SAP. So this slide shows pretty much business as usual, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any innovation. So from a on-premise side, we continue to, for example, work very closely with Intel to enable latest technologies like Sapphire Rapids or Ice Lake CPUs. So that's all work that is major. It's been done majorly in the SUSE Linux Enterprise Service server code base that we inherit. But obviously, we're looking at that also from an SAP team to test it, to support that on a broad scale, as well as things in the IBM Power environment. So there's ongoing innovation on the hardware basis that we closely collaborate with the base engineers, the kernel engineers on. Virtualization is a second topic. So you might have noticed that we achieved KVM validation again after that wasn't available for a while. We saw customers that actively virtualized their HANA deployments on KVM, and we have the first, as I said before, the first validation in the books. We continue to work on a few further ones. Hyperconverged is obviously a topic from a SUSE perspective with Harvester to also look into it. So we see how that goes. There's ongoing innovation. And with the team that's locally at SAP, we also discuss new innovations with VMware. So we'll see what happens there. But KVM right now in Harvester is something that the team actually looks into right at this point. And then big area is obviously cloud. So we have very, very established relationships to the major cloud providers, actively work and interact with them, drive innovation forward. As I said before, monitoring project was one of the innovations that came out of the collaboration. Deployment automation is something that we've done from our side. Diego is going to cover a project that we're doing with Microsoft where we actually actively contribute. And as SUSE is the only vendor that actually provides the images for the hyperscalers that are being used for the SAP workloads, we'll also collaborate very closely on that end in terms of patching and maintaining the images. Okay, so then a quick update on Saptune. So version 3.0 actually G8 end of last year, with a couple of key innovations. So it has been completely refactored to remove TuneD and move to a systemd service. One key thing is we have staging implemented now that a admin can commit changes explicitly. And another key feature in multiple aspects is conditional configuration. So that's true for specific hardware and specific tuning parameters that depend on the various hardware vendors. Or if you're running a cloud environment for Azure AWS, we're also working with Google Cloud here to enhance that and get the configurations in. So major innovation at that end, and also with some gentle push from SAP, we also added sysctl conf checks into it, as there were during the different upgrades from one service pack changes. So we're also checking that and ensure that even the sysctl is now properly configured. Saptune 3.0 is on the horizon, so that's expected in the SP4 timeframe. Couple key innovations is color highlighting, as you see on the screenshots, that you can easily, as an admin, see error messages, inline comments in the configuration files, which make things a lot easier. So quite some reworking on the back end that happens. We dropped MaxDB as most customers go to HANA. And the major piece is actually the machine readable output that we're looking for, because as you can easily expect, and when you hear Diego now talking about Trento, there is also a play here for Saptune to become an integral data source for Trento, and we're moving in this direction right now. So with that, let me just hand over to Diego to talk about Trento.
Okay, so thanks, Christian. So let me introduce you Project Trento. So Trento is our new solution giving one step forward into simplifying and automate even further the SAP operations on Linux. So, but before we go there, let's take a look on what were the motivations that we took to start this project. So I think it's fair to say that the move to S/4HANA brings really new challenges, because combined to that, you not only have a new SAP system or new SAP functional aspects to cover, but also very often this comes with new technologies and new platforms like cloud and also Linux adoption. So in collaboration with customers, we could see that they were facing quite some challenges when doing that move. So for example, we had customers deploying on the hyperscaler where even that we have very well documented and established best practices, sometimes one small deviation for that brings you to a non-compliance system where unexpected failures might occur. So one customer, for example, had deviated a little bit of the best practice and was not using two core sync rings. And then when they really needed, the system didn't fail over. And then SUSE experts and obviously their own operations are working on escalation modes and needs to troubleshoot this in a very short time frame. Also, very often you have to do very big re-architectures and designs considering a completely new system for your IT department. So we also had customers in situations where the new well-designed system delivered by partners were not fulfilling best practices and even delivered in an unsupported state. That usually you only realize when you are very late on the process and unfortunately when the system doesn't work. So taking all this into consideration, we decided to, okay, what can SUSE do better? What can we deliver best for our customers to make sure that they will be served by our solutions in a better way and avoid such as mistakes. So taking this and also a new approach towards our customers and bringing them as our real partners, we started to develop Project Trento, where we took all of this experience and introduced it even further in a more holistic and consolidated solution. Automation to do compliance checks of our best practices, to do automated configuration discover and automation of SAP landscape discovers, to make sure that the onboard and the operations of SAP solutions on Linux becomes much simpler. Also, we made sure to do this in very close collaboration with customers and partners to guarantee that we have very accurate solutions to real world scenarios and problems. So with active engagement from our engineers, product management, directly with our customers and partners on the field, what generated Trento? Really a container native web UI that provides end-to-end automation for configuration compliance of the HA perspective, the HA checks, plus also other points that we're going to see on the next slides. So from a vision perspective, on the left-hand side, we see what we are right now. So Trento comes to integrate the many components that we have as part of SLAS4CP and add new ones. So for example, we do have configuration checks to make sure that the system is aligned with the best practices. We tend to call this best practice as code. That means we have recurrent and automated checks to make sure that our recommendations are being fulfilled. And in case they are not, the Trento system will warn you and make sure that you have enough time to react. We are also integrating the monitoring capabilities mentioned by Christian into a single in a single web-based solution, giving you the sense of panel of glass to have everything and all the information you need from a single place. And it will allow us to elaborate and build a much longer vision around where over time we'll be able to build smarter solutions, smarter decisions, and develop even on top of all the data collected and all the capabilities around more complete and more complex model to make sure that your operation gets simpler while the system handles all the infinite new models that are surging, like hybrid clouds, different clouds platforms, and different vendors combined in a single place. Going next. So as I mentioned, Trento helps to safeguard your deployments via a simple to use web-based tool, so that here we can see that it displays all the SAP systems automated discovery. So it means as soon as you install the Trento agent and register this, it will scan the existing SAP systems and will build you your landscape view and a nice dashboard providing you status for all the systems. It will send alerts in case of events of errors or events that demands your attention. And more important, this is also, Trent is also aimed to be integrated, serving your most flexible needs of the modern IT infrastructure. So it's API driven, and it must not be consumed only as a single tool or a single application, but it will allow you to flexibly integrate on any other systems and ecosystems where we want to have it deployed, serving all the information needs and information workflows you have on your IT infrastructure. So here in more details, we see the dashboard and showing your SAP systems and status of each one of them. Going next, we also see in more deeper details that you can very easily identify the SAP database layer, the processes working there, if they are part of a cluster or not. In the same way for the application layer, what are the processes and what machines and hosts and the status of each one of them. Integrated on the same console with the same context, we can see you have also monitoring metrics like the CPU or memory and more to be added over time, plus also the cloud information details and the subscriptions information related to the machines and the hosts involved. And even in a very early stage, and Trento just got GA in the end of April, but since we started working with our customers and partners, there was a clear value proposition, a clear recognition of the benefits that Trento can bring for your IT operations. So a big US retailer that is collaborating since Alpha 1 already spotted a lot of problems, even when we had a very small subset of checks and subset of functionalities. Another very big company, a very big food company, also saw that as much as they have a corporate strategy for monitoring, they don't have SAP or cluster or Linux specific capabilities on the corporate tool, leaving some gaps of their operations that Trento is helping them to cover. And in the same way for automotive, a very big automotive company where they outsourced their operations, but they lack visibility towards the tooling and the processes established. And Trento is helping to making sure that the communication transparency towards the system status are acquired back uh, from the relationship they have with the provider. So a little bit more on the Trento architecture. So Trento, it's, as I mentioned before, is a container native application having two main components. One is what we call the Trento server, and then the Trento agent. The Trento server is a container native application that can be deployed on any certified Kubernetes service, being it on premises, being it running on the cloud, or managed by any of the SUSE solutions for container management, Rancher and RKE and others. To be able to monitor and connect and integrate into the Trento server, as part of SLAS for SAP channels, you have the Trento agent delivered as a RPM package that can be installed in the same way that you install of other components of our Linux distribution. And then they interact with each other, and then everything that you saw before will be provided in a nice web UI. So if you want to learn more about Trento, please visit our web page. So we have a landing page, we have our official documentation, and also as usual, this is a fully open source project. So feel free to reach out and visit the open source project as well. So last but not least, let me talk a little bit about a nice project that we developed together with Azure around automation deployment. So in collaboration with Microsoft, we partner up to make sure that they have the right automation and deployment parameters configured when deployed on Azure. So the first version are right now under customer testing, and a minimal viable product is available. And SUSE made sure to be part of the Azure automation framework for SAP, contributing and validating all the OS and high availability configuration steps, and also contributing, obviously, part of the code and the project management. So currently, it's available to be used as traditional Terraform and Ansible tooling, so it can be used via command line, but it allows a deeper integration on the Azure solutions like the Azure Cockpit or the Azure Portal, but also for any kind of external consumptions as well. So if you have interest to learn more, please visit the project hosted on the Azure GitHub and make sure to leave your comments and messages there as well, because Microsoft and SUSE really work closely on that, and we really want to serve your needs and making easier the deployments on the Azure platform. That's it. So thanks for your time. Thanks for coming for our session. And then with that, I hand over to Christian.
So, I mean, for me, it's only to thank you guys for staying through the presentation with us, and have a good rest of the show and enjoy SUSECON. Thank you.